And we are back with the final week of the regular season. After today, we will know our 4 playoff contenders. So buckle up, boys, because it's going to be a tight finish for Division 1 of GSC.
Wow. That is solid.
Wow, how about that? This could be huge. Oh my god, that's a huge play. Oh, here we go. Here we go.
And we're so back. Let's just jump right into it. XI and 2S, of course, on top. KG and Daisy at the bottom, floundering. Everyone else fighting for the playoff spot in this final week. So all of these matches in the head-to-heads with the competing teams are going to pretty much decide who makes playoffs. It's really going to come down to the wire. And we'll start off with a very influential match, important match, Heaven versus SL, the rematch. Azmac POV, he starts race 1 in first on DDR, runs it for a lap until Sam takes triple shroom cut, Jan takes golden cut, so they're 2-3, and then they quickly pull a blue, so Heaven takes over in top 2. And I am not playing in this match. The lineup is Macy, Sam, Thunder, Brody, Burke. And Heaven takes over top 2, but we use a shock. Brody dodges, however, right here something weird happens. I think he gets a weird pillar trick. As you can see, he kind of lags out. You don't really know where he is, and then he isn't that far ahead considering that he dodged. And Azmac pulls a TC. He's going to look to pass this, but fortunately for him, he is unable to. So Brody is in first, but it's very close. The second place person is right on his ass because he failed a little bit. But Azmac just stays in the back the whole race, and we do end up getting top 2. Macy sneaks up there at the end. We get our DK Summit track pick, and Azmac pulls a golden at first set for Cannon, and he doesn't get hit by anything. There's no interruptions. He's very easily able to golden into first, and he holds down first for the entire race. There's no blue or power or anything until we use a lap 3 shock that I think dodges Macy in a mega and possibly dodges some of our bottom spots in a star. Either Sam or Thunder probably dodge that because they get 4-5 off of it. So we get 1-4-5 after they ran pretty much the whole race in top spots, which is pretty good salvage with that shock. Gardens is picked next. We don't really get anything interesting from the Azmac POV. He just holds a star all race, but we did take cut. So we were like 1-3 or top 2. Print is up there contending. Thunder is pretty gone in first. Sam is going to try to survive here because Print has triple greens out, and then a blue comes, so it's actually kind of a dangerous situation for us. Sims has to slow down, has to concede. Azmac uses Mega to try to predict our blue cancel. Obviously, they did not have it, or else they would have dodged him in his star. But shot comes late here. Sam throws up some greens. They don't connect. Thunder is able to hold on to first. Macy dodges at the end. So a very hectic finish to that race. There are a lot of stuff going on, a lot of positions changing, but we still get 1-3 out of it. But we do get bottom 2. I think Sam got hit after the shock happened. They got redded or something. We get our Wario's gold mine pick. Azmac is not able to immediately draft. He does get the box and is in a pretty decent draft line, but he gets it a little too late, so it kind of forces him wide. And we actually end up taking over in top 4 right here. So Azmac is going to have to start making some plays. He does get a nice banana snipe into red combo, so Sam gets taken out, and then Jan starts to shroom up. So they are closing in a little bit, but there is a TC battle, so if Jan gets past this, it's really bad for them. However, it's really hard to tell with all the shenanigans going on, but Thunder actually falls off the track there, or he gets trolled off by Burke. Either way, he dies, so Azmac is able to get into second when he pulls a mega. Pretty much stays in second as their only top spot in the whole race, and they did have shock, so they try to TS our 3-4, guaranteeing Azmac first, obviously, because he's dodging in second place there. So we barely win that GP. We win it by about 4 points. GP2 starts off with RWS, and Brody takes cut at the very start, so he's able to get into first. Azmac runs in second for a while. Jan takes cut lap 2, and finally Azmac gets backed after running in second. Thunder also took cut, so he's up there as well. So it's 1-3 for SL until a blue shell comes out lap 3. So it's going to be very close. Jan is going to barely be able to take over first. Types also gets up here, so Heaven is a lot of these top spots, and the pack is extremely close for RWS, so any type of TS shenanigans here is going to be deadly. But because Asmac has a Mega, if we have Shock, we can't really use it because he's just going to dodge. And if Heaven has Shock, they're just going to secure their 1-3-4, which is exactly what happens. They get a huge race on RWS. Next track is Mushroom Gorge. Asmac drafted in the first counter, runs it up without even taking gap. Jan takes gap. Thunder looks like he's taking Golden Cut. And he's right on top of Jan. Looks like he's going to try to just overtake him, but he gets Banana Sniped or trailed or something. So Heaven gets into top 2 on MG. They run it again for a little while. This time Brody is the one interrupting, but a quick bat green takes him out. So Heaven is still just holding on to top 2 until a blue shell comes out lap 3. Hits Jan in kind of an awkward spot, not the best, but at least he's not off. Asmac has a Shroom at first, so he's just winning this race. No Shock on the cut yet, but it's a very close finish. It looks like Brody took cut and Macy barely sneaks by, getting 3rd place. Very, very close finish there, so we salvaged 2-3. But Heaven gets their RBC track pick for the 1-4 spots. Types doesn't draft immediately, gets it kind of late there. But Heaven does get into top 2 very early, and Asmac has this trail green out, so you can't really contest them. Then he gets the draft. Goes very tight. I'm surprised he went that tight, because Types obviously gets bumped a little bit there. He goes for the knee screen, and it's a terrible attempt. But he runs in first for a while. Brody shrooms up, looks like he goldens, but gets kind of a weird laggy interaction and isn't actually able to pass Asmac after the golden. So Asmac takes rail freely, but there's Pow. He tries to do the little bounce to the left to bounce off the wall and save himself, but he isn't able to, and SL gets into top 2. Types passes his teammate at TC, so Asmac's out of the race for a little while. Gets back up there in 5th, chaining his shrooms. Heaven's 2-3. Brody's just still holding on first, but he hits a banana, I think, in first on that corner there. And then it's just all shenanigans. Throws green off the wall. It hits Types. Red comes out. Then Asmac greens himself. And then we immediately throw blue. And there's a shock. Thunder dodges. So we're definitely going to be in first. Pring got blue, like I said. And it looks like Macy also dodged in a Mega or spammed a Mega right after. And Heaven gets bumped off. Sam's in his star, so he's just going to be able to go tight there. So all of a sudden, we are in very good spots after Heaven was in contention for them. And no box for Asmac means he's not going to be able to pass anybody except Macy. Falls off. Sam fails. So should have been, I think, 5-6 or 4-5 there, but instead it's like top 2, 6, 7. So we kind of fumbled the bag at the end there pretty terribly. That RBC rail ending has been kind of cursed for us, cannot lie. But we get our mountain pick. However, Asmac gets triple shrooms, but he fails on the wraparound. I think if he just shroomed there on the landing, he would have been much closer and in a much better position to try to overtake first, because now he just gets bumped off by Brody. I think Brody also might have gotten bumped off there as well. Asmac sent to 8th, and it is a very weird pack. Sam was in first. However, something had happened to him, and I don't know what, because all of a sudden he is not in first. Print gets up into first, Types is second, Thunder is in third. I think he either must have gotten blued or target powed off or just failed and fell off, because it was really hard to see where he actually was in that whole interaction. No shock lap 3, so if either team had it, they probably would have used it there. Asmac gets shroomed into the wall, and we are in very bad spots at the ending. I don't know whose shock it was, but it didn't come till very late, and Roast is the first bagger back in 9th, so I'm assuming they just had shock and held it to the very end. And Heaven gets top 2-4 off that race, and they win GP2 by about 20 points, so we're down a little bit going into the last GP. Start off GP3 on Grumble Volcano. Asmac misses the box, so he has to wait, gets the 7th placer, and it is a star. Macy burns a star trying to hit Asmac. Asmac just uses his star as well. Pulls a golden, and then what's up? What's up? Fails a rock hop very terribly, so he's sent to 8th for pretty much the whole race. That is an SL shock dodging us in respawn, and it TS's them on cut. Kind of hard to see exactly what happened in that race from our POV, but that was our shock lap 3, so we get a very nice top 2, 4, 5 off of that. Immediately tying things back up or making things very close. BC3 is next. Sam is on Ultra. Doesn't look like any of Heaven is on it with him. We fail to block cut, so Asmac's able to take it freely. Brody failed it, and Thunder looks like he was able to red one of them on the cut, but Asmac's able to take it, throws a green up, immediately hits. I don't know what Sam had, but he didn't trail or anything, so I'm assuming he must have had shrooms or something in first. Azmac decides to block lap 3 as we're all right behind him. And I think he either fails or we get a quick unblock or something because we're able to make it cut and use PAL right after to prevent them from taking Brody. Able to take cut as well. And then a random shock red comes out. Brody said that was his red from before he took shortcut. The red went around cut, and then he passed him on cut. And then the shock red came out. Like, it was insane interaction. We are top 2. Triple back greens, hits Azmac. Sam is also up there. Heaven is bottom 3, and that's exactly what they're going to get. So it's another top 2, 4, 5 for us, and we are up now, going to the last 2 races. DS Delfino Square is picked, and Heaven does get a draft off to Azmac. Gets into first, and he keeps first until shortcut section, where Brody is the first one out of cut. Chained to star to triple reds. Azmac has a red going up for him as well, but luckily he has protection. Spots stay pretty much the same until cut again, lap 2, and this time Prin is the one taking it, so he gets up into first. Types also up here, chain of mega. Again, red shells on Azmac, but he's able to protect himself. And Azmac gets the draft off, but it's probably an SL POW there as we try to POW red first, and we do get that off. Types also loses shrooms. Azmac gets another draft, so it's going to be very close to Brody, and he gets a shroom, so he's going to be able to overtake Brody here. And Jan is in cut, Thunder is in cut as well. It's going to be very, very close finish depending on who gets what items. And Azmac has no item at all, but we are 2-3, which is okay. And we also get a blue shell, which is amazing. Heaven decides to cancel the blue. Not really a good play because Prince still ends up getting like 5th off of that, and we get 2-3. So Jan snuck his way up in there, and going into the final race, we are up 15. So they go Toad's Factory, try to get their draft off, but it does not work. We had made the comeback. Those top 2, 4, 5s carried us this last GP. Thunder pulls a TC and he passes it off. Looks like Brody did get the draft and he's able to go wide. So Azmac isn't able to pass it to him, but he gets kind of scared out anyways. So Jan, Prin, Types, they're all up there. However, I don't really know what happens because it's very hard to see, but we ended up taking out a lot of them, either blue shells power, they failed or whatever. And we ended up getting into top 4 right at the beginning of the lap 3 here, and Azmac pulls a TC, so he's forced to just kind of pass it off to his teammate. And like I said, they're down 15, so they're going to need a pretty big race here. And Brody's starting to break away in first, so unless they pull a blue shell and then get shock and dodge like 3 times here, it's just not going to happen. And it doesn't happen. Thunder, easy dodge, and we get an easy top 2. Win the war, 10-2, big victory over Heaven, who is competition at this point, so that is a huge win for us, bringing us back into things, kind of taking Heaven out of it. They're kind of on the bottom side of the competition now. So that match, I think we played it very well. When we had shock, we were able to use it effectively. We got a lot of value out of our shocks, and we did get more shocks, I'm pretty sure. I think we did win that shock count. We were also able to just keep their top spots in check. They were never really running in like top 2 or top 3 or whatever. I think DK Mountain was the biggest example of them controlling a lot of the top spots. We were always able to get up there at least until like second, maybe like 2-3. Blues helped us out a lot, but we were able to mitigate the running power and then just use shock effectively. So pretty convincing win. Pulled it out in the last GP. So far, this has been a great season. We've had some good comebacks, some close matches. It's been an awesome experience to play in D1 and watch these matches, but unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, it is all about to go to shit for multiple reasons. So first of all, DayZ's out of it. They are 0-8. So instead of playing their last 2 matches, they decide to forfeit, which makes sense, honestly. I don't know why you would kind of want to waste your time playing the game. If you're already out, there's really no point other than getting, good high-level experience matches. But they end up forfeiting 0-12 to both KG and to SE. Now, KG doesn't really matter too much, but SE is our competition. They get 12 free points out of it. They don't even have to try. They get an automatic 12 points. So that kind of sucks because they are our direct competition. And we did lose to them, so we were hoping, they would not get many more points in the continuation of the season. Now, that's not all, because KG also ends up forfeiting their last 2 matches as well. So they forfeit versus Heaven and IF, who again is our direct competition. So they just both get 12 free points. Just like that. They don't even have to try for it. So not only does IF get a lot of free points, so they're kind of breaking away a little bit, but also Heaven back in the mix of things. They're still not out of it, even though we just beat them. They're still in contention, except one more thing. Half of Heaven ends up getting banned from GSC for leaking Jeff's face, even though the picture was old and it apparently had already been seen by a lot of people. They claimed it was doxing. I don't know. It is what it is. They did end up doxing him on purpose in order to get banned. It sounded like they didn't really want to finish out the season. So Heaven is now down a lot of core members. Now they don't end up dropping. You'll actually end up seeing. We'll talk about it later. They do end up finishing the season out, but they are limited in their roster now, and they have to play with a much worse selection of players. With all that being said, the cherry on top, the absolute worst reason the season goes to shit, for us at least, because we end up playing IF. And unfortunately, I do not have the VOD saved. I'll explain why in a minute. But we play IF, GP1 goes normal, and then about 2 or 3 races in, Sam DCs, because he plays on hotspot, and sometimes his connection is bad and he DCs. So it's like, okay, we burn a reset. And if you don't know already, in GSC, you get each team gets 2 resets they can use. And then when you have to use a third one, if you want to use a third one, you get an automatic -20 penalty. It's like, okay, we use our first reset. And we try to start up the next GP, and I think Macy and I both get a CTGP error, or something crazy like that. Like something so out of the ordinary. And then we start playing another GP. And then I think 3 people DC, or 2 people on their team DC, or something, 1 person on each team DCs. So we have to reset again. And it's not our reset this time, it's more like a mutual thing. So we have to reset again. And at this point, we've been playing for like an hour and a half. We barely even finished halfway through the war. So we have to like sub out Macy and then sub out Will for Thunder or whatever. We're basically just running out of time here. We've only finished half of the war. We've already reset 3 times. So okay, we'll start up the next GP. Next GP starts up, preparing the race. Please wait a moment. And come on, would you look at that? Would you look at that? 2 of us DC again. So now we are forced to burn our 3rd reset, or else we end up playing a full GP 3v5. So yeah, must have been super unlucky that both of us DC. We must both have really bad connection, yeah. So we try to start our next GP again. This time I think Macy subbed out. Will's back-to-backing Thunder is just randomly running now. And we try to start up the next GP, and it actually starts up. So we get our DK Summit race. I think this is race like 8 or something, maybe 9. Not actually sure. But at this point, I don't think we've even finished 2 GPs yet. But, Barry's kind of stuck in the wall there. Okay, he's the one hosting. He's like, all right, Barry connection, it's whatever. It's Australian. I get a single shroom in the back, not very good. I'm just going to try to get this box here. It doesn't happen. Once again, Barry's in the fence. A little bit shaky, but not too bad. Get an 8th place box. It is golden. That's okay. At least I'm pretty close to the pack, so hopefully be able to shroom up here as I do burn it on landing. Sometimes I like to hold that, but I did just want to burn it to get up there, get some more frontal pressure as Shadow's first, Brody is in second. And then I look back, and if you look on the mini-map, Barry's stuck in the wall. Oh, and then he just teleports into the cannon. So a little bit shaky net there from Barry. I don't really know what's going on. Get triple greens, and we're actually 2, 3, 4. So all we really need is a blue shell in order to get a huge advantage here. But as we approach double lap 2, they use a very nice strategic pow. Pows me off. I kind of fumbled that. Probably could have lived if I just spammed my shrooms or something to the right. Maybe it could have lived. Either way, I am in 6th place. And yeah. Whole room dies again. Very big surprise there. Very, very big surprise. I was in 6th and 2 bags were behind me, so 2 of them DC'd, and then the whole room died. So they are forced to burn another reset. I think that's the one on their end. So I think they've either used 1 or 2 at this point. But either way, we've reset the room at least, I think 4 times, 3 or 4 times. So at this point, we've been spamming board. We've been spamming the referees, trying to say, hey, what do we do? Like, this doesn't seem fair that we would have to burn third reset here, the one that we had to take the -20 for, when the room is clearly just dying on its own. It's really no one's fault. It's more of just a collectively just bad connection between everybody. But we get absolutely no response, so we just kind of forced to play it out because we don't want to risk dropping from the war, saying we have to finish this another time, and then taking a free win basically, because if we don't continue it out, it just looks like we quit. But because at this point, Macy had to go to work, and I think Will had to leave too, so we end up subbing in Zap for the last race or something like that. But yeah, I mean, it's taken 2 hours already, and the last GP starts up, and wouldn't you know it, we only have 8 people in the room. So we're playing a 4v4. We have to waste our time playing a 4v4. These races don't even end up counting because you're not allowed to play a 4v4. But like I said, I don't even really know why we ended up playing this or why they decided they wanted to play it. I think they were worried about burning another reset and getting a -20 as well. But yeah, clearly nobody knew what was going on, and at this point, I think with the races that we had left, we were down like 30. So with the -20, without the -20, we'd have only been down like 10. But we are down like 30 with only 2 races left, I believe, at this point. And what ends up happening is board finally decides to do something hours later and say, okay, the last 2 races that were 4v4 don't count. So you have to replay those. So it's like, okay, I mean, that's something, but really sucks that we are forced to tank a -20 for basically no reason, when it's clearly not our fault. I mean, if anything, it's the host's fault. I don't know why Barry would be allowed to host. They did switch through multiple hosts, and it still wasn't working in any situation. Now, with that being said, the reason I didn't have the VOD saved is because I stopped streaming once we started DCing, I think like halfway through, or whenever I started recording. And I basically forgot that I was streaming it because, when I end my recording, in my mind, I think, okay, I have a recording of the war, but half of it was streamed anyway, and I wanted to stop any type of bad internet connection that I was getting, but clearly that was not exactly my fault. You weren't really missing much. I mean, it was pretty much dead even the whole way through. I was playing like kind of not great, but we were still keeping it very close. And then we tank a -20 on, sometime GP3, and it kind of set us back a little bit. The fact that it took 2 hours to complete like fucking 8 races definitely drained us quite a bit. Macy had to leave, Will had to leave, so we can't even really play the game with the lineup we wanted to in the time slot that we had allotted. And we were forced to play 2 BS races and then replay the 2 races afterwards because they didn't even count, because board did not feel like responding or cooperating with us in any way. So yeah, it's 12-0. We lose at 12-0 to IF. We get 0 points out of this match, which is quite bad. At this point, I don't think we can make playoffs unless SE chokes their last 2 matches, I'm pretty sure. Because with the rest of the season, the way it looks like, Heaven and IF have to play twice. So either way, whatever team wins those matches, they're both going to end up getting points out of it. So one of the 2 teams is definitely going to be making playoffs. And then on the other side, SE has a couple matches left, or I think they only had 2 matches left. And they are going to have to choke them and get like 0 points on both. And then we're going to have to 12-0 our last 2 matches versus XI and 2S, which are probably the 2 best teams right now. I think they have the 2 best records. So it's going to be a tall order for us after this loss. Quite sad way to end the season off for sure. We'll just skip right into the deal breaker. SE versus XI, they have to basically get 12-0'd, and unfortunately, I did not get the VOD for this match. Kind of messed up here because it was a very close war, very good war, and it ended up being XI's first loss of the season. SE takes it. They win 10-2, and they narrowly squeak out this dub. Huge win for them, as they are going to need every point they can get in these last couple matches, as Heaven, IF, and 2S are still threatening for them. But this is a huge win for them. And then they went and played 2S, and they win that match 10-2. So they pretty much sweep their conference in the last 3 games with the Daisy win and those 2 wins. This time is a much more convincing plus 70, 10-2 victory, which actually puts them above 2S with 10 games finished. So they're done with the season with 70 points. 2S has one more match left versus us, actually, versus SL. And if we beat them, they will be seated under SE because they only have 64 points. So if we win, they only get 4 points or 2 points or 0. They will be seated under SE as this is the last match, which could end up mattering because if on the other side, if IF or Heaven ends up passing them in points as well, that means they'd be the 4th seed, which means that they would play XI in the first round, which is obviously going to be the toughest opponent. So this match doesn't really matter for us, but it does affect seedings a little bit. We start off race 1 on Sherbopolis. Now, guys, I will just mention this, I'll preface this right now. This is by far the worst match I've ever played. I just came back from the gym, and I had barely practiced like in a week. I hadn't played at all that day, hadn't warmed up at all. So as you can see, it makes quite the bad decision to shroom away from the TC while simultaneously getting past the TC and passing it to my teammate while hitting the Penguin. So I passed the TC to our highest place spot, which means that 2S is going to be able to just run it up a little bit. And they also pull a shock, so we really have no way of catching up to them without spamming a bunch of blue shells, which doesn't happen. We pull shock at the end to gain Thunder one entire spot, and I get 7th. They start off very strong with top 3, and they get the Bowser Castle we track pick. Now, I don't get an item box in one of our lower spots, so that kind of stinks. Normally, you'd be looking to pull a golden or a mega there, or maybe a bomb to chuck up, but they are running it up, and Brody pulls reds, which is nice. At least he's able to threaten Chi, who is on the right path. If he was able to red him, that might prevent him from taking glitch, but it doesn't look like he's going to be going for glitch. I attempt it and unfortunately fail, and I guess I can mention now that Sam is bagging this match for the first time. We have Thunder, Macy, Brody, and myself running. Call a target POW on first, I think, or I don't really know what it did there, but we do throw a blue shell, which is nice because we are 2, 3, 4. We're able to blue out Pam. Should be able to take over in first at least. I have triple shrooms. You already know I'm going for the glitch again, and I fail it again, which kind of surprised. Normally, I'm pretty locked in when it comes to league matches, and I can maybe bust one of those out, you know, but I'm 0 for 2. I pull a mega. I don't know why I didn't use it just to recover from that green shell hit. Maybe I was predicting a target shock, or I was waiting for us to pull it, but we definitely do not have it, or else I would have used it. Gonna go for glitch again. I'm 0 for 3 and I'm off the track. I cannot even remember the last time I've fallen off on glitch like that, but we still get top 2 out of it. I think it was top 2-5 or something. Next race, DK Summit is our track pick to run it up. I pull star pretty good, get it up to 5th, and I fail double. And I pretty much stay in 8th the entire race. We still get top 2-4, so we're actually doing very well considering how badly I've been playing. Don't get the box in 8th there. Maybe should have waited for it to respawn, try to get Bill. But I am able to get an 8th place box closer to the pack now, and it is a golden. It's going to be golden up a little bit. Zach has the mega, chaining it. Kai got into first, but he's redded out, and then I am redded by my own teammate. I kind of just ran into him there. Bo is screwed. He gets TC in like 7th. I get a star, pretty much just stay in that 6th, 7th spot the entire race, and I'm target powered lap 3 in the backs, which really stinks. So unless I dodge right here, I'm probably not catching up to anybody. And unfortunately, Macy had just respawned and then falls off again. So we're getting bottom 2, it looks like, this race, but Zach hits something on the line, so I'm able to squeak out 6th place, and they were just running it up in top 2. And we barely lose that GP, I think, by about 6 points, so that stinks, but we're very close. T2 starts off with Grumble Volcano. Get triple greens. Normally you want to pull shrooms as early as possible, but greens can be useful to hit your opponents if they're trying to take cut. Tossing a green up at Coco. Do not hit. I really thought that one was going to land, but I pull a TC, and I need to pass it off to this guy who's standing in the dirt, but unfortunately I miss. Was really expecting him to go for the shroom first. That's why I went in between the shroom and his line. But unfortunately, I'm TC'd in 8th, and I'm just kind of chilling in 8th the whole race. But we did get top 3. I really don't even know what we did up there because I'm pretty sure we never even used shock. But whatever, I'll take it. We get the mountain pick. I did start in 8th, so pretty much just forced to shroom up as much as I can. And I do get into 5th, narrowly avoiding some green shells. Pull a blooper. Not the best item. Let's see what I get next set. It is a thundercloud, and I'm very not close to anybody, but I'm just going to tank it, honestly. I'm just going to go down the mountain as far as possible. Try to schlag Fred a little bit, but Brody's a bit too close for me to comfortably sit there without threatening passing it off to him. And 2S gets a good race there, so they pick Maple Treeway. I am able to jump and cut first, even though I started in 8th, so I get the 7th place box. Triple Shroom's pretty nice, so I'm going to be able to shroom up a bit here. Hopefully don't get hit. Hopefully I'm able to chain it. I do take a nice turn. I do chain it, get the item box. It's only a single red, but take the turn pretty cleanly, launch the red up, get a ground shroom. This is the best I played the entire war, was that first little starting sequence, actually chaining my items properly and playing aggressively. The banana does not connect. I don't even remember whose that was. We get into top 3 and we're pretty much running it up the whole race. They don't do a lot in order to take us out. They do throw a blue, but Brody's just able to dodge it in the cannon. And we do have shock. We dodge top 3. Macy is in 4th. As you can see, we are just broken away at this point. So we end up the race top 4. Huge race for us. Massive comeback race. And boosted my confidence a little bit. I felt like I was back in the game and I was actually playing normally again after that. Get a box in 6th. They did a golden, very nice pull, as only one of them was able to take cut, and it looks like he only had a single mushroom because I am able to shroom all the way up into 1st. If he had more shrooms, maybe he would have burnt one in order to get in front of me, or maybe he's just holding it until cut next lap, which is what happens. He does end up having a shroom in 2nd. I toss a nana up, bang, got him, and then he doesn't burn another shroom, so I'm assuming he had just pulled one in 2nd there, but I do have 2 nanas in 1st, and I know he's close on the left side, so I throw a nana up just to kind of scare out his alignment. He does the same thing to me, and he actually screws me over quite badly, because I'm unable to take the turn the way I wanted to. I kind of am forced to go wide into that grass patch. So I'm back to 3rd, hit a little niche fib from the right side, and I pull triple reds, which is good because the guy behind me has triple reds, so I'm going to be able to block all these reds here, except I don't block all the reds. I, in fact, missed 2 blocks, then I'm greened again, and then I am almost greened another time, but luckily I narrowly avoided. So big chillin' in 8th, end up only getting up to 6th. Pam was able to run after I failed in 1st, which kind of sucks. I probably would have just got 1st otherwise, unless there was a blue shell. But we win that GP by like 30 points. It's a huge GP for us, and we're up going into the final races. And I failed this temple strat a little bit here on DDR, but my golden is too powerful. The pack is tight, so I'm going to be able to golden all the way up into 1st, exiting cut here, except Fred also took a clean ultra with triple shrooms, and I'm right behind him. He backs me right on my face on the pillar section. To be quite honest with you, I thought that back spam was so obvious that he just wasn't going to go for it, but I was reading 2 steps ahead while he was only 1 step ahead, and I misread the situation. So I'm stuck back into 4th. We're still close to them in top 2, so we have the potential to make a play here if we get the correct items, and I do get the correct items. Throw a green up at Pan, bam, in the montage, triple shroom ultra. Now it is my time to make the cut cleanly, except it's not that clean. I gotta slow down and hop over this little gap at the risk of falling off. Someone mentions that there's a blue shell in the air. I put it in reverse like Terry, and Fred and Thunder both got blued there. I think Thunder was on a phone call or something. I don't even think he was in the call at that point. But either way, it worked out because we end up getting top 2-4 out of it. So we're breaking away in this final GP. It's huge for us. BC3's picked next. I get a banana. I fail these low tricks quite badly. Thunder is behind me, and he does have a mushroom, so I'm just going to decide to go for Ultra, which is something that I normally don't do. Take quite a long time to align, and I could have blocked it behind me, but unfortunately I'm not that good at the Ultra, so I just focused on making it, and then I just get bumped off right away afterwards anyways. Cut is blocked, so I just need to golden around cut. Thunder is still holding it down in first. There's a flounder fest happening on the Ultra, but Bo is able to make it. Looks like Fred also makes cut, so 2S is all behind us in first place. I do get a golden mushroom here though, so I'm going to be able to get up there, except Thunder is about to get blued, so things can get bad in this situation quite quickly. I'm goldening up, and I try to bump Fred off. I actually do bump him off. I didn't even notice that until looking back at this recording. In second place now. Failed the hop dodge. Could have been clean if I pulled a red shell there on the hop dodge. I definitely would have scared him out. This time I learned from my mistake. I immediately get out of his line, and I fortunately see that banana at the last second, but I do not see these bananas, and I don't burn my mushroom. I honestly don't know why I didn't do that. Shock comes, and it is actually their shock, even though Brody dodges in Bill. Pretty sure he just saw one of them use a mega, and he was able to predict and time his Bill correctly. Sitting on Shrimless, unfortunately, I fail it. My alignment was a bit off, and they actually ended up getting top 2. I don't know what happened at the end there, because Brody was in first for a little bit, so he either got blued or just redded or hit out or something. They get their Moonview pick, and it's working out for them because there's a lot of vehicular manslaughter happening to us. You do not want to watch the first 2 laps from my point of view, that's for sure. And they are running it up in top 3. I'm just chaining these mushrooms for, I don't even know, a blue shell maybe. Maybe we can spam shock and I pull a mega. But either way, nothing good comes out of it because all I pull is a POW, and we are unable to crack their top 3. They do still get 8th, but they are making a little bit of a comeback now with those 2 races. We are only up 13 or so, and we are forced to pick a dogshit track in Delfino Square. I do, however, get the draft at the beginning, so I'm able to creep into first, get a banana, immediately trail it. I do not use my rear view because I think I'm safe. However, I'm not safe. I'm owned by a draft because he hits triple greens. He doesn't have to worry about my nice little trail. And then I am niched again by this green behind the box. So I'm forced back into 8th with my triple bananas. I'm gonna make a little bit of a sneaky play and put the bananas after Doc from 8th. It looks like Macy was bumped off and it is now in 8th. I get a blooper and hit a crate. So not a great start for me. However, I am able to dodge this POW mid-air, mid-double. So we are chilling in 2-3. Not the worst spots. If we're able to keep this, we should be solid. Back bomb Fred there. We do pull shock at some point. I don't exactly remember when, but I just want to milk as many points as possible. Call a shock red onto Claw at the end here, as Macy and Thunder were both big chilling in bottom 2, and they didn't really have a way or a good shot call at the end. They couldn't dodge or anything. So we narrowly squeak out this win, 8-4 plus 7 ending, which, like I said, if we win this match, it does force 2S to be seated below SE, which is exactly what happens. Not my best performance, but I had a couple good moments after I started picking things up on Maple Tree Way. So not my best performance at all. I just gotten back from the gym. Any other gym goers who have come back to immediately play Mario Kart know that there might be some mental fatigue there. You might be a little bit more drained than you think when you're sitting down in front of your TV and you haven't warmed up at all. It can definitely hit you when you least expect it. You might think that the endorphins and you're feeling good and everything from your workout, but sometimes it can bite you in the ass because you're just mentally drained already before you even play the first race. Was also not warmed up at all. Hadn't played in the previous days beforehand either. Because we are out of it. This match didn't matter. I still would have liked to play well, but I definitely did not play well in the first couple races. And that was our last war of the season because we have to play XI next, and we were unable to schedule it. That war literally didn't matter for us. It didn't even matter for them, I don't think, as they were going to be top seed anyway. Maybe if we were able to beat them, they would be second seed or something like that, but it didn't matter for us, so we just decided whatever, we'll just forfeit and let them get the free win. Now we move on to IF versus Heaven, a double feature because they had not played their week 1 match versus each other. So we have 2 back-to-back IF Heaven matches. At this point, IF with 8 matches done is at 68 points, and Heaven with 7 matches done is at 50 points. So they have these 2 and then one last one versus XI if it matters. So if they can get at least 18 points here, they will make it in over 2S because they're only at 68 points with 10 matches done. SE is at 72. They could actually crank up. If they're able to get 2 12-0s, they would be able to sneak up and get into second place. And then if IF goes 0 points, if they zero out on these last 2, they would be tied with 2S. And I think they might still be making it over because they had a better win-loss record. So IF really only needs a little bit of points here in order to guarantee a playoff spot, but Heaven is going to be fighting for a playoff spot over 2S here. And it's kind of unfortunate for them because, like I said earlier in the video, they got half their team banned, so no Deco, no types. So they're going to have to use Ruzang and Atama. Now Atama I've seen before. He is kind of a lounge player, definitely more of a newcomer, but not a bad player at all by all means. Definitely pretty decent. Ruzang, however, I think is literally their backup bagger. I literally have no idea who this person is. But I mean, he's going to be hanging with the big dogs. When you got Jan, Azmac, and Roast on your team, it's kind of hard to fail. You're still going to be kind of a solid squad. Start off with the Azmac POV on Sherbert land. Gets a fib, doesn't trail it, Looking back, not a lot of people close to him. He actually had a little bit of a break there at the beginning, which is kind of rare for Sherby. Cormac does lag him to TC. I really did think that Fib was going to connect onto him just with that spacing, but unfortunately for Azmect, his lead is squandered, and then he's bumped around like a pinball by the baggers and starred by Shadow, and not quite starred again, but either way, he is sent to 8th. So he's big chilling in the back for a while. It appears that Jan falls off the track on that little corner. Azmect pulls a golden in 6th, which is a very nice item, and gets the hop dodge. What a gamer. Atama is forced into his mega from that POW, and Heaven uses shock to dodge him. TS is Cormac, kind of TS is Barry as well. When you get shocked here, you have to take this cut a lot wider. Sometimes if you don't take that corner properly while tiny, you'll just fall through it. So they keep 1-3 up until the very end of the race. Throws a green up. The bananas cause Barry to go wide, and then Azmect shrooms up at the end, and he's on the left side of the finish line, but somehow he does not finish in front of Barry. That's kind of BS. Lag advantage is hitting. Either way, Heaven gets their 1-3 maple pick. Azmect jumps into the cut, gets a box in 6th. Terrible item, TC. Can't do much with that. Gets another box in 6th, and wouldn't you know it, it is another Thundercloud. This time, though, he's a little bit closer to everybody. He might be able to pass it. Looks like he does pass it off to Shadow. Rui Zhang gets hit out, and Heaven is chilling in 2-4 for a lot of the race going into lap 2. Pulls a blooper. Once again, not the best item to pull. And Atama gets backed out of cannon, so now Azmec's really the only frontal presence for Heaven. Chances blooper, goes inside the Nana. Gets a red shell. No ground star for him. That could have been nice to catch up, but doesn't matter. Shot comes for Heaven, allowing Azmec to easily dodge, and gets a nice little shock red out on Barry. So, you know, he's got a massive break at this point. There's nothing that can stop him, even if he gets blued, but the Wiggler, the IF Wiggler comes into play, and then Azmec does in fact get blued, and that Wiggler time loss was enough for him to get passed up by Barry, and he has Shadow on his ass. Jan also back there. Looks like Heaven is 2-4-5 going into the last little straightaway. Gets a Fib, might be able to hit Shadow here, but Shadow probably backs off a little bit, tries to back him at the line, doesn't work. So IF end up getting 1-3-4 out of that, even though Heaven did use shock. Heaven gets their Gardens track pick. Azmec gets a star at first set, chains it to a golden at the next set. Golden's up lap 2. Atama also takes cut, so Heaven gets into top 2. Pack is splitting up a little bit, but it is not much time until a blue shell comes again. Azmec gets blued, and he is comboed into his own ground green. It looks like Barry also hit his ground Fib that dropped. Gets a TC lap 3, can't really do anything with that. IF shock dodges, looks like Barry in a mega, and Cormac in a star, so it's going to be another winning race for IF. They get top 2, 4-5. Huge GP for them so far, and they're going to keep it going with the Toad's Factory track pick for their spots. Azmec does get a box in 5th. It's a mushroom, not the worst item, but he's going to need to burn it at these next item sets and hope he gets something good in order to take out the top 2. Barry is also billing up. It looks like he burned it early. It was probably forced into it. And Azmec's chain is just a single red, which is not really going to be doing a whole lot because he didn't gain that much time off that shroom either. And he pulls a TC, so Azmec is simply nerfed out. And IF is going to run away in top 4 for a lot of this race. Heaven makes a push at the very end of lap 3. Azmec pulls a golden, which is good. Jan is up in there, but he gets redded, and the banana hit only keeps Azmec at 3rd. So IF ends up finishing top 2-4-8, and they had a monster GP. Win it by about 40 to 50, 48, something like that. So huge start for IF. XGP starts off with DDR. Azmec just runs in first for a lap, but he does fail Sandtop, which definitely matters. I think if he was able to just drive cleanly, he would have been in front of Cormac, who comes out of the Golden Ultra. I think that must be a Heaven shock as they dodged their guy in 3rd, and it looked like Azmec was trying to shock red the guy in 1st. But Barry predicts and dodges as well. So IF is still 2-3. Pow block comes at kind of an awkward angle for the 2-3-4 spots. Azmec pulls a nice mega, and it looks like Barry just hits this random banana on the pillars without blowing out his red shells first. So that means that Azmec is going to be able to get into 3rd and keep it, but it's only 1-3, still bottom 2 for Heaven. But I get the track pack again with Wario's gold mine. Azmac swings out wide. It doesn't look like anyone gets the draft. Actually, Shadow might have gotten the draft there. Yeah, as he does get into first. And then Barry also drafts, but he's kind of forced into a more awkward line with that turn. So Rui Zhang is going to keep second, trying to get a draft of his own onto Shadow. Doesn't look like he gets it, but Atama probably goldens up, probably was the guy that got the 8th place box. Azmac throws a banana up and unfortunately hits Atama off. He does not hit any of the IF members, but I really like this mushroom usage there. He just kind of weaves in and out of everybody in front of him. Can't really communicate to his teammate where he is, so he just tries to drive as aggressively as possible to get into first, and he does end up just running in first. We don't get a lot of action for the rest of that race, but it is a pretty good race for Heaven 1456. Koopa Cape is picked next, most likely at IF track pick. Azmac gets bumped out at the very beginning, which doesn't really matter too much, but he does pull only triple reds now in 5th, and he is able to take Shruma, but Atama gets a TC. It looks like Ruzang only pulled a mushroom, so that means that a lot of IF members probably have the chance of getting better items, and it does appear that Cormac got one of the Goldens, and Barry, who was starting also up there in the front, was able to keep his top spot. So IF gets into the top 2 pretty early on. Azmac picks up the drop star, tries to red Barry, tries to hit him using the lag a little bit, but it unfortunately doesn't connect. Barely avoids that banana into fib combo. I think if he got a trick, he might have been sent into that fib. But Cormac is getting blued while Azmac's taking Shrima, so he's going to be able to get into first by quite a little bit with these triple greens out. Barry can't really contest him. Snow also gets up here. It's really Azmac versus a lot of these IF members. Tries to keep backing. Snow takes Shroom cut again. So Snow might have a Shroom in first at this point. Can't really tell. Azmac gets the ground star drop, so he's going to be able to take cut again. And T-Pow comes out onto Snow, so he's forced to go very wide. It looks like he did not recover very well. So Azmac takes over to first. But if you look through the rear view, IF is still all the spots behind him. There's no other Heaven presence up in the front, and Azmac gets quickly blued out again. He's just simply nerfed. Cormac is also taking cuts, so IF is going to be able to get into top 3. Shadow crept up there somehow, but Cormac is also up here as well. And the tight backflip down the waterfall is all it takes for them to secure the top 4. And they get their DK Mountain track pick. Azmac starts kind of in the back, so he gets a good item with this golden. And IF is able to keep, it looks like, about 1, 3, 4 out of this. Or top 2, excuse me. And the banana on cut forces Azmac to take a very shitty golden cut. So he isn't even able to catch up that much. If he was able to take the cut normally, I think he would have just been able to pass up Shadow there. But IF is just running away with it in top 2. Really nice pull with triple reds in third. He's going to be able to put a lot of pressure on Shadow. He actually ends up redding him, but he hits the wall himself. Looks like he goes wide, tells his teammate to pass him so he can red Snow here, which is an okay play. However, it backfires, ends up redding his own teammate. Not what you like to see. And especially because they're down so much at this point, they really need to start making like huge plays and getting the guy out of first and getting top 3s and stuff, but it's not going to happen. Azmac keeps his second place, but he's the only one up there again, and it's another blue shell. So IF ends up getting another monster race, and they win that GP by 40, which means they're up by quite a lot going to the last GP. So let's just cut right to the chase. Of course, they end up closing this out. There's no way that Heaven's going to be able to make that type of comeback. So with that, the points are looking like Heaven has 52 with 2 matches left. IF has 78 with 1 match left. So things are still possible for Heaven. They need 2 wins. They need to beat IF right here, and then they need to beat XI. They can definitely still make playoffs, but they need 2, 10-0 victories at least. Actually, I think they would only need an 8. Yeah, they would only need an 8-4 and then a 10-0 in order to pass up 2S, because 2S, like I said, only has 68. So they're still within striking distance. IF also can still technically get first seed as well. So going into this last match, this is pretty much deciding Heaven's season here. We start off like normal on DDR race 1. Azmac POV again. This time he starts in second. And our top 2 both fail the sand top. If Azmac actually got the draft there and was able to do the TF input, he probably would have been able to get into first. Regardless, he's pretty much chilling in the back for the whole race until appears to be a Heaven shock. I think the guy in front of him dodged in a star and took Ultra. Now Azmac pulls blue, so that's Jin up there in first. Looks like the IF guy in second got either bumped off or pushed off or something. Rui Zhang also makes his way up here. And because Jan has such a break in first, they are going to be able to blue Shadow at the line. right at the end, but an IF shock also comes out. Kind of cancels the blue, dodges Barry, but Shadow actually does lose a bunch of spots. He goes all the way to 8th, so it's 1-3-6-7 for Heaven on the first race. IF gets their Sherby pick. Asmac hits a box in 3rd. Really the best thing you can pull here is probably a mushroom, maybe like triple res to try to hit the people either in front or behind you, but he is able to shroom into 1st. Pulls a fib, maybe he can backfib somebody, but no one behind him except for Jan, so they actually keep top 2 for quite a while. Barry pulls Mega into, looks like shrooms. He's able to shroom up in front of Asmac, but he's immediately redded out. And Asmac has trip nanas, very nice. Is able to nana Shadow, but gets fib sniped himself, so IF is 2-3-4 behind Jan, who's breaking a little bit in 1st. And this is lap 3, where he does some weird maneuver where he takes the boxes and then just loses a bunch of time anyways. Don't know really what he's doing here. But a shock is going to come out for Heaven, get Asmac into boxes. One of them dodges in Bill at the end. He is going to be able to get, looks like 3rd. Yeah, Atama was able to build all the way up to 3rd off that shock. So it's 1-3-5, another winning race for Heaven. And they get their maple pick this time. Asmac gets a box 4. Triple reds, pretty decent pull. Like I was saying, you can kind of just spam these at the beginning. Try to hit as many people as possible. Throws a red up at Shadow. Doesn't look like he's trailing anything, so that is going to connect. Now he has 2 reds for Snow right in front of him. But Snow looks like he outmaneuvers Jan and just gets a better turn at Wiggler section than him. And now he's definitely in front of him now. It could have been bad if Asmac threw a red and actually redded his teammate. But smart maneuver for Jan to go up for an item on purpose, lose a little bit of time that allows Asmac to pass him and red out Snow. However, lap 2, Cormac takes cut, so he was right on Asmac's ass and he is able to kind of just force him out. However, Heaven pulls blue shell. They're able to blue him. Looks like this is an IF POW. It kind of combos Cormac, like slightly. As you can see, he did still lose a bunch of time there, but it more so target POW'd Heaven in 2-3. It kind of cancels out a little bit. Asmac pulls a shroom in 2nd. Very nice pull right before the shortcut. It's going to be very close to Cormac here, and he gets another shroom. So he's got a shroom in 1st. See, no cannon shock, and with Cormac this close to Asmac, he's just going to burn the shroom and chain it for protection. Definitely the smart play. It's a lot more worth it to have an item to protect yourself and guarantee that you are actually in 1st as compared to holding a shroom in case of a blue shell when someone's that close. Heaven uses a last second shock to TS Cormac after the split path ramps. That can actually make you lose a ton of time if you land on the slope at a weird angle. And it's going to be a top 2, another big race for Heaven, and they get their TF track pick on the top 2-4. Asmac pulls a fib. It looks like Shadow was able to draft him, though. He definitely could have backed that fib. I'm sure he thought the lag might have had Shadow in front of him, but clearly not, as he was able to draft up, and he has protection for the red shell, so it's only Asmac here in 2nd. He's going to try to make a play to take Shadow out. Banana goes up. It looks like it was a little bit to the right, so maybe a little bit behind. And then Asmac gets sniped himself, so he's chilling in the back for a lot of this race. Gets lagged a TC there, so he's forced to burn his star. Is driving directly into his teammate in a star. Absolute madman, and unfortunately fails star cut. IF was top 3 before that. That was the end of lap 2, and they were just able to keep their top 3. And it's a slight winning GP for Heaven. They win that one by about 6 points. DK Summit, track pick number 5. Looks like Jan probably drafted there, or maybe just got a lag star. Either way, he bumps Asmac to the back, and he's honestly chilling in the back for quite a while until he's able to shroom up. A lot of IF in the top spots here. Gonna go for the double. Looks like Dermo's slightly winning in the bagging battle. Unfortunately, Asmac gets bad DKS physics right there. Sometimes that can happen. Really kind of just RNG if like you get bad physics on the double shortcut. So he isn't able to crack in the top spots. Shadow and Barry are just broken in top 2. And that is an IF shock. Gonna TS Asmac in the snow a little bit. Might matter if somebody's dodging close to him. Someone throws a red up. Cormac did dodge. He is able to pass. Snow also very close, able to pass him though. So that TS did matter. They were able to get 2 spots off of that. Would have been 3, 4, 5 for Heaven if not for that shock. Asmac gets a box 7 on the left at the start of Coconut Mall. It can be tough sometimes to get a no-stop box in that 6th or 7th spot because you have so many people in front of you also taking boxes. But he gets a star, just burns it early to get into 1st. That is definitely the play, especially if when you're communicating with your teammates and no one says they pull trip shrooms or golden or anything. you're just going to want to burn that star to get up into the front. As you can see, him and Atama run the race for quite a while. It is lap 3. He tanks a blue and is still top 2 for Heaven. Even after they take shortcut, they were able to keep top 2. And Jam was able to sneak up there at the end. So it's top 3-6 for Heaven, bouncing right back after that DKS race. Another Shroom into Shroom pole in second for Azmac. Kind of crazy luck there, can't lie. So he's able to creep into first in front of his teammates. But Snow looks like he's gonna be in front of him by a little bit. Fib goes up, had to have been Snow's. There's no one else close to him. A really tight battle there at the beginning. Very important that IF was able to break up that top 3 so early. Quick little troll pen there. That was Dermo. They bumped Azmac into the fireball. And it is just top 3 for IF. Azmac is going to be able to golden up in front of his teammates, but pulls a TC in fourth immediately. So they're going to run away with top 3 very easily. So there was that -10. I'm pretty sure that's what that is if you hit into an obstacle. But luckily for Heaven, they're able to get their RPG track pick to break up the top spots quite early. Azmac pulls a golden no stop at first set. His item luck has been pretty good so far, cannot lie. But Barry was in second. He just gets Shroom right after. Hop dodge for Azmac on the slope, pretty easy. There's 2 Nanas. Really like this Nana spot where he goes for that snipe. Very unexpected to have an item get thrown at you right there. A lot of the times people throw bananas up on that slope if they're at that close. So I really like that unexpectedness, but doesn't connect, so Barry's going to be able to keep first. Blue Shell comes out. He's still going to be able to keep first. It looks like barely. Baggers were right next to each other. It's kind of tough to see who would have it. But Azmac picks up a ground shroom and actually just gets up into first because of that. And looks like he's going to be able to hold off all 3 of the IF members who are right behind him. Shot comes out. It appears for Heaven. Looks like they called Cormac out of his Mega, who was right behind him. Jan takes over into first. Azmac gets bumped out of the way of the boxes, which could be important. He's not able to backspam anybody, but top 2, bottom 2 for Heaven. They lose that GP by about 10, so IF takes over, but it's very tight going into the last couple races. IF gets their 135 track pick again, I'm assuming. I don't see why Heaven would have picked this for even spots. Either way, Azmac able to simply outline Shadow and get into first. Once again, pulls a Susui Mushroom. That is the second place shroom. And once again, I would probably burn this if I was him. Maybe would have burnt it at that set, or might burn it at the wraparound here. Well, now that you mess up, you got to use it there just to break away a little bit. So he is able to break away in first. Did have a solid amount of a lead, honestly. Got blued. Is still in third, so 2-3 for Heaven. And they keep their spots until Azmac unfortunately hits the wall, gets redded because of that. So now IF is taking over in the majority of the top spots. Heaven is bottom 3. Azmac misses the box. Very important to hit those 8th placers just in case it's the bill. You never know. And I really can't tell you what happens on cut there. A lot of shenanigans. But Azmac does get up into 4th. Barry shrooms back up after losing his spot. It looks like Shadow also fell off or was bumped off or something. Azmac gets sniped out. Easy green spam up. Hit him. He didn't have an item. Only had that blooper. So Jam was able to hold first, but it's 2-3-4 for IF. So it's winning race for them. And they get their RBC pick for that 4th place draft spot. Looks like they don't get it though. And once again, Azmac is able to pull shrooms. Snow does get the draft. He's trailing this green. Really clutch of him to get that, and he is able to get one backspam off. And now IF is suddenly top 3. I think Shadow and Cormac both shroomed up. And quick back green tight. They're breaking away in top 3. Azmac is the only guy up there for 2 laps. Luckily pulls triple red, so he's able to fend off the double backspam. And he's going to be able to get at least 1 red off. He does hit Shadow. Looks like the other guy failed right in front of him. However, IF is still broken in first. Barry shrooms up. Azmac throws his red a little bit too early. I think he was, trying to time that with the lag. I think he could have gotten him if he just timed it a little bit later, but gets the mid-air banana snipe on Barry. And he keeps second up until lap 3. Pow red comes out. Target pows him. Barry just hits like a ground shell or something. Atama's billing up. Ruzang's goldening up. Gets redded. It's very hectic ending here. Shadow's also shrooming up. Heaven did throw a blue, but like I said, Cormac was broken so far away in first that he's going to hold on to that. And really tough to say whose shock that was. I'm pretty sure it was just Heaven, though. Roast is the bagger kind of isolated and he didn't spin out on the minimap. They do get Snow after set, and Asmac into boxes. Shadow wisely slowed down, but unfortunately, I think he just gets random green or hit on the rail or something. So really hectic ending there, but Heaven's able to get 2-4-5 off of it. IF gets the 1-3. So another pretty even race with only 2 races left. And it's Kuba Cape, another pretty neutral track pick. 2 Heaven members going into Megas right at the beginning. Insane pulls from them. They're going to be able to get into top 2 off of that as well with nobody from IF shrooming up. Asmac gets triple reds, which normally you'd want like triple shrooms there or something to get up there, but with 2 of his teammates pulling Megas, triple reds is actually a really great pull because he's just going to be able to hit all the IF members. And Shadow gets fibbed on the way down from the waterfall, it looks like, and then, yeah, they just throw 2 reds up, able to connect on both of them. So it's top 3 for Heaven for a while. Snow looks like he takes the ending cut, passes Asmac, but Asmac has triple greens and a mega, so they're top 4 with a mega in 4th. Big chillin'. Some IF members do end up shrooming up here in lap 3, but Heaven is primed to take this race. They're still in control of at least first. Cormac and Shadow are in these mid spots. Heaven shock, easy dodge for Asmac, and a shock red comes out. Triple shrooms for Asmac means he's going to be able to take over first. Altama keeps second place, and then Jan also managed to sneak up there at the end, so it's top 3 for Heaven. Going into the last race, I think they're up like 5 to 7-ish, or maybe it's an even number, so they're up like 6 or something. They're up by a little bit, so they just need a decent race, but Asmac gets bumped off at the very beginning, and he's literally just sitting in the bottom spots the whole time. Jan, same thing. He's just dodging in this bill at the very end, but dang, you might have been able to see he's in the middle of the track. He got blued on the line. Blue on the line, so it's top 3-5 for IF. They do clutch it out with that blue shell. I think it would have been, what, 2-3-4 for them? They might have still won without that blue, but it's tough to say, but it definitely came down to the last race. Very tight war. IF does manage to sneak it out, though, so it's going to be a 10-2 again victory for IF. Obviously, Heaven not using their main Lu. They were put at a bit of a deficit without Types and Deco. They still put up a good fight for both those matches. I mean, it came down to race 12 for that last war. So they definitely still had a chance at making playoffs even without their main lineup. They had some pretty close wars there. Asmac was playing well as always. Definitely was getting some good item luck. I cannot lie, in that second match at least. First match he was getting blued a lot. Second match he was pulling shrooms in second a lot. So there's a little bit of a difference in luck for sure for him in that second match, which might have made a difference as to why it was so close, because it wasn't nerfed nearly as hard. And with that, the regular season matches are over. Lazarus XI is the number 1 seed. IF Infinite, 88 points, number 2 seed. Superbia SC, 72 points, number 3 seed. Craig from Midgar City, aka 2S with an asterisk, is number 4 seed with 68 points. And any other matches that were left don't matter for the standings. I think we had to play XI and we forfeited it already at that point, and then Heaven also had to play XI and they agreed to a 6-6 tie. So those are your top 4 finalists for the playoffs. It's going to be Lazarus versus 2S, so XI versus 2S, and then SE versus IF. Now I'll just make some quick predictions. I think it's going to be XI over 2S, not a crazy prediction or anything, but I do think it's going to be XI winning. I could see 2S taking a game. I could, but man, Lazarus has been super dominant, and they didn't lose to 2S in the regular season. It really wasn't that close either. I mean, they had some, it wasn't complete dominance, but they were comfortable for a lot of the matches, so I would say that Lazarus just takes it 2-0 over over 2S. I could see them losing a game, though. I could see 2S putting up a good fight, but if I had to put money on it, I would bet Lazarus every time. And then for SE versus IF, this one could be a bit closer. I could see this one going, for 3 games. I could see IF maybe taking it, but I do think SE just wins here. Personally, I think that if SE just puts in a little bit of effort, like they just grind a little bit for the days beforehand. They get on that TT grind, get a couple wars in, get really warmed up. I think they're just going to win. I don't see that team losing when they're actually playing well. From my perspective, I don't know if this is even true, but from my perspective, it just seems like they're you know, they have a lot going on in real life, so they don't, you know, sit down and grind the game all the time. But when they are able to, they're able to play in their peak and play a lot better as compared to, you know, just some normal scrims or wars or whatever. SE just has more experience for sure in these type of playoff matches, higher stakes matches. They also just have more experience in the game. Like Edison and Sean have been playing for since, I think, Wi-Fi days, maybe a little bit after that or before that or whatever. Revise and Revan have both been playing, I'm pretty sure, for a bit longer than the IF people have. Like, I know Snow and Shadow probably been playing since a little longer than I have, which is like 2019 summer, so like 4 years ago or something. So I think their experience is just going to carry them, even though IF did beat them in the regular season. It was pretty close. I think they won by like 30-ish. I just think, like I said, I don't have really any evidence for this, but I think if SC just grinds a little bit beforehand and actually gets warmed up and whatnot, I think they're going to be able to take it home. IF was coming down to, you know, race 12 versus Ruizhang in their last war, so it's not exactly the best point to end off your season, not going to lie. At least they didn't lose. That would have been even worse, but it is a tough sell to convince me that that team that is struggling versus Ruizhang and Atama is going to be able to beat SC in the best 2 out of 3. And then to go a step beyond that, to go to the finals and beat XI, I mean, that's even tougher. Because I do think if SC wins and XI win, I do think XI just wins again. They're just way too consistent. I feel like they do kind of grind the game still, like more so than SC, so they're just in better shape like all the time. One thing can be said though, SC did beat them in one regular season match. They lost the other one. They're both pretty close, but they did win in a regular season match. So they definitely have the potential. I could see SC taking a game, but like I said, if I had to put money on it, I'd take XI. It's just, they're too good, dude. It's XI. What can you really say? Like, unless they're playing against JX, like, they're not going to be the underdog ever. So, yeah, they're just too good. I do think XI is going to take it overall. I mean, you could say the same thing about the whole consistency and experience for the 2S match as well. 2S is way newer players as compared to XI's people. This is Mario Kart, so if one team gets a little bit luckier and they're playing well, and so they can utilize that luck to the fullest, any team can really win when it comes down to it. You just have to be able to execute when you get that good luck, when you get those good opportunities to make a play and to have your team score a lot of points. If you're unable to take advantage of your luck, that's definitely when you're going to lose. It's hard to get carried by luck alone. You still have to incorporate some skill. So that'll do it, boys. That is the regular season, at least, for D1 GSC season 6 or 7. I don't remember. Either way, I think my predictions were not the best. I got XI right, of course. I mean, not a bold prediction, but then behind XI, I put KG and Heaven, which Heaven was on track to make playoffs. I think they might have had a shot if they didn't get their players banned, but they weren't as dominant as I thought they were going to be. Especially when they started off 2-0, 24 points. They were really looking unstoppable for a second there at the beginning. KG, unfortunately, not able to break their curse. They had the same thing happen last season where they just had a completely disappointing season, even though on paper they just have so many good players. So kind of disappointing showing from them. And then 2S and IF both stepped up. And it's surprising to have not just one, but two more underdog teams both make playoffs. Underdog in the sense of, at the beginning of the season, you could say that they were underdogs. Obviously, like about halfway through, we realized 2S was very good, and IF had also had a good shot at making playoffs. But at the beginning of the season, my prediction was that I think they were number like 5 or 7, or 5, 6, or 7, or something like that. So, and as far as SL, how we did, I think we did okay. I mean, we went 5-5, so we did completely average. Had some good wins, had some bad losses. My performance, I think I did okay. I think I did decently. Definitely had some bad moments, but also had some good ones as well. I'm just glad I didn't play terrible and completely let the team down. Could have played better, obviously. Could have played perfectly, but I'm not the best player in the world, so that's just not going to happen all the time. I honestly think we could have made playoffs if we were able to use a proper lineup for every match, because we did end up having to use Will to bag, like versus SE and IF, and then we had No Macy in our SE match, which definitely matters for sure. I think if we were able to utilize a lineup of Sam, Macy, Brody, plus either me or Thunder with Burke bagging every week, or even something like Sam bagging with Thunder, Macy, Brody, and I running like we did in that 2S match, I think we would have just had a much better shot. But our bagger, unfortunately, is we broke down or something, and we just don't really care that much about rescheduling and making everything perfect and delaying matches. We really just would rather play the matches out because we are comfortable with the lineups that we end up throwing out there pretty much every time. That is all from me this week for these final regular season matches. Congrats again to the 4 teams that made it. That was a pretty fun season, all things considered. Definitely, I would say a fun season. And hopefully the finals and semifinals matches get finished in a timely manner, because I know that 2S was talking about delaying for whatever reason. I don't know when, but there was a little bit of talks of delaying. So whenever they get played, I should hopefully do that video promptly and not take a bunch of time. I got a little bit burnt out on these last 2 vids, cannot lie. Just very repetitive, chopping up footage and then commentating about it over and over again. So hopefully should have the playoff matches recapped in a lot more timely manner once the finals are done. But thank you guys for watching. I will see you then in the final recap video of the GSC season. Peace.